Hey everybody, how are you folks doing today? I can probably close that. Alrighty, happy Wednesday, right? Aw, let's see. Alright, no, we don't want to buy followers. Good morning. Hope you get your coffee. I just made a fresh pot of espresso with my mocha pot. Now, the sad thing is, oh, my hair, whew, like the entire pot makes just this mug worth. So I also have a backup pot of coffee. Don't worry. Don't worry. I know. I want to be famous, Dusty. I should buy those followers, shouldn't I? Isn't that amazing? That would be, that would just be so cool. Like my dreams come true, right? All right. So let's pull this up here and see what we got going on today. And we can close that one. Yeah, save. Okay. All right. Someone had asked me about the summer semester, and I think the schedule is out and available now for anybody interested in taking summer classes, which is pretty cool. So we've got this schedule out there. They haven't put any names on it yet, so don't worry. But okay, let's take a look. Oh, that's right. We're in version 3 of our document now. Oh boy. Oh boy, right? All right. Let's see, what did we change here? So we're going to finish up methods today. I never posted a quiz for the files portion. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot to it. There's, how we can append to files and open, read, write, and close them. Versus when you just write them, they overwrite. So I wasn't too concerned about that portion. I'll post a quiz for methods later today. Okay. And let's see, talk about the next project, right? I think we're in good shape. Our little Zork adventure game, or it's not Zork, I'm sorry, not Zork. Our terrible text-based adventure game. Using loops and files and doing it all in methods. So we're starting to talk about methods. We're going to look more at methods today. Try to beans up here. Grab another one of these tabs. All right. So that's what's on tap for today. We're going to finish up talking about methods, and we'll do midterm review after winter break. I'll post the sample midterm today, or last semester's midterm. It's actually out in Discord. Someone had asked about prepping for one of their exams or something like that, so I shared it for funsies. Sorry, I got some in my eye here. Ugh. So that's out there. I'll put it in D2L for you guys too, instead of just in NetBean or Discord. I got too many names. Too many names. All right, we'll close all these projects down. Then we're going to go find our methods project. Okay. The last semester's midterm exam. I can post that now for you guys, right? Why not? Why not? Go to content. And where do I want to put this? Course information. Seems like a silly place to put it here. Yeah, I'm going to put it on D2L right now. I mean, that's not course information. This is midterm review. Sure. Put in this thing called midterm review, right? Here it is. This one. Right there. Okay, it was literally just a print to PDF of a preview of the last semester's midterm. So it doesn't look the prettiest in the world, but it's not too bad. So a couple notes. So what we're going to do next Monday not next Monday, but the Monday after next Monday, right? Because we're off on break next week, is I can go over the answers to these questions. So that way you have time to look at it and do whatever you want to do with it. It's a much better review for you if you try them first, right? Rather than just wait for me to tell you what the answer was. Like, think back to math class, right? If you actually try the math problems, you'll be much better off than if you had just watched someone solve math problems. Which I found the coolest video, by the way, and I tricked my son. It worked on him, but then he figured out it was a trick, and figured it out about a minute later. Good morning. It was the math teacher's up in the middle of class, and he said, "Okay, we're gonna have a race. I'm gonna do some math." Hydration. Thank you so much. This might be still hot. It just boiled. Yeah, it's a little hot. A little hot. So the math teacher says, "Oh, we'll do a race. You guys can use calculators. I won't be able to use a calculator. We see who's faster." And he asks someone to make up a 3-digit number. And then he says, "Okay, I'll make up a number 2. Let's do it here. I'll race you guys. So somebody in chat give me a 3-digit number." This is super cool. It's worth it. Math is important. All right, so 765. All right, so I'm going to come up with a number. I'll say maybe 234. Okay, okay, Demo, you gave me 456. So we're going to multiply each of those by 456, and then we're going to add the results together and see what we get. Okay, so that's a 6 there, right? So I can't write here, so by the time you guys use your calculator, hopefully I have the answer here. I think that's it. What do you think? Let's check it. Did any of you guys figure it out? Let's do it up here. So 765 times can't even use a calculator. 456. Okay, that side plus 234 times 456. 455,544. Look at that. Did I come up with the answer before you guys got it with your calculator? Oh, you can't see the rest of it. It's behind my face. There we go. That's what I should have written it behind my face on purpose. I did that so you couldn't see what the answer was. There we go. So believe it or not, there is a lot of overlap between solving math problems and programming. Just the idea that we have a bunch of tools that we know we can use to solve problems, and then we need to apply them step by step by step by step in this logical process. So most computer science degrees will require you to take a bunch of math up through Calc 1, Calc 2, and then usually linear algebra or differential equations, or maybe it depends, but at least 2 semesters of calculus, probably the linear algebra, maybe Diffie Q is not required. But fun fact, I didn't actually get a bachelor's in computer science. I went and got one in information technology, which did not require the math, and then went and got my master's. Still did not require the calculus. It was information systems. And then when I wanted to get into the doctoral program, they said, "Oh, by the way, you need all these math prereqs." And me sitting at 30 years old was like, "Oh, okay." So I went back to school and I took Calc 1 and I took Calc 2 and then I took Calc 2 again. I did better the second time than the first time. And then discrete mathematics, which was super interesting. Are you guys familiar with the Fibonacci sequence? Fibonacci? Remember, it's oops. I just want to slide that. 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21. Right? Each number is the sum of the previous 2. Right? And for the longest time, I thought you'd like just had to keep on adding up. A 0, yeah, I guess some people start with 0. I don't know. I'm not a math person, so I don't. Sure. You could say it's 0. That's fine. Thanks, Sam. Yeah, so it turns out you can actually calculate a Fibonacci number, like the nth number of the sequence, without having to do all the counting I learned in discrete mathematics. And that was like the coolest thing to learn, because I've always thought Fibonacci was cool. So that's a fun fact of the day for you. But all sorts of good math classes, and then I got into the program. Anyway, we're going to talk about methods today. The midterm. Midterm first, and then methods. I just want to give you a quick look at it here. So it was only 18 questions. 15 of them are your quiz style, short answer, true, false, correct the statement to make it true style questions. The last 3 are programming questions. Okay, so a lot of these will look pretty similar to your quiz. It only loaded 1 page. I feel like that's not correct. Did it really only load 1 page? Did I only print 1 page? Let me check the PDF here. Yeah, it's on. Okay. Okay, sure. It only printed 1 page. Scratch that. Give me a second. Let's go back. There is more than 1 page. Yeah, that was a bad sample. Here we go. Midterm. Preview. Start. Scroll. Okay, we got all the pages. Print. Save as PDF. Okay, it doesn't work like that. Thanks, D2L. Let's do this. I think if I highlight it all, I have an option for print. Now is it going to do it? There we go. Look at that. Okay, sure, with an extra bonus page at the end. Okay. This is still better. Still better. Okay, here we go. Save as a PDF. I don't want that last page, so I'm gonna get 1 to 8. Right, I can just trim off that last page. That was nonsense. Oh, no, 1 to 9, sorry. Only 1 last page of nonsense there. Okay, boom. That there, yes, replace it. Okay, looking better. Looking better. Now we'll come back to our class. You see, this is good. This is good. I'm glad I looked, because that would have been a sad review. Like, oh, 2 questions? No, not 2 questions. How about now? Okay, this looks better. So again, 18 questions, 15 short answer style, like from the quiz. Oh, that one probably won't make it into your midterm. Right. And this one, we got a little further last time. So like if the question is about classes, don't worry about it. We haven't talked about that yet. So we just won't have one. It's okay. This is just to kind of give you the format there. So these longer answer style questions here. So here's the first one. Ask the user to enter a file name. Ask them to enter 5 names. Write those to a file, 1 line per name. Then ask them to enter another file name. If the file exists, ask them to enter a number 1 to 5 and print the name at that line number. Write a method, guess a number 1 to 10 that asks the user to guess a number between 1 and 10. Ensure they pick a valid number, then return the number. Write a method, random number checker, that accepts a number to check, generates a random value 1 to 10, and prints the results. The user guessed too high, too low, or guessed it correctly. So writing two little methods there. And this last one is we haven't done that. So don't worry about it. We'll get a different one. Okay? So that's just kind of the format of what the questions are going to look like here. Okay? Should probably fix that one in Discord later. Okay? That's midterm prep. Go back to Chapter 5 methods. And we'll talk all about that, not next Monday because we're on break. Don't come. But after that. Monday after that. Chapter 5. And I think for break, I don't think we have study group sessions, but I'll double check with you and see. So I think I still had stuff on the calendar that I need to fix. Yeah, there is no lecture March 1st. So this event needs to get deleted. I think I can delete just the one, right? No, there's not an option there, of course. From the calendar view, I can delete it, I think. What is that? Oh, project 2. Okay, that's the wrong week. Yeah, no study group over break. Okay, good to know. I'll delete all of these events then. Delete only the selected occurrence. Delete only the selected occurrence. Delete only the selected occurrence. And this one, delete only the selected occurrence. I need to delete these other ones too, because they will not be there. Weirdly, these ones show, but like the other one, I don't know if I messed something up. But I thought I had all of it in there. Alright, so nothing that week. Oh, there they are. Okay, yeah, so I'll delete those ones too. While I'm in the calendar. There, it just didn't show me a good enough date time view. Do you guys ever use this calendar ever? Like, is it useful? And, like, I know that like it puts links up, or like if stuff is due at certain date times, it'll kind of remind you there in the calendar, which is cool. What do you think's different between the remove button and the delete button? Remove content from or delete? Huh. You didn't know it existed? Oh no! It's over here on this right side, right? Your little calendar for what's happening in the class. Yeah, I think it's got it all there. Are my due dates right then? I think we're good with our due dates. Yep. Okay. Cool. Gonna talk more about methods? So again, this idea, right? Methods are useful not only because they can avoid repeated code. Yes, we love avoiding repeated code, and we feel better when we use methods. Right? Remember that rule of thumb? Anytime you have the same code in your program more than one time, you should feel bad about yourself. Oh, you didn't know you had the traditional calendar view? Yeah, it's usually just a list, like, which is a weird thing to call a calendar. It's just a list, right? So, helps you avoid feeling bad about yourself because you have the same code in there more than once, right? Because you guys are all phenomenal programmers who are lazy people. In a good way, right? You are efficiently lazy. You don't want to do the same work twice if you don't have to. Okay? It's much more fun when everyone can smile and nod along, but that's okay. So you get to avoid that. And then, if the only thing different is a value, like our little prompts here asking the user for an int answer, then it's still repeated code. Right? We said, okay, well, if, where is it here? Yeah, ask a user for an int answer. So before we had this exact same, we'd get an answer, we'd just integer.parse into it, we return that value. If the only thing that was different was this string here, right, the prompt here, right, we can make that an argument. We could say, okay, if you want to do that, you need to tell me what that piece is here. What's that unique piece? So we take that as an argument, and then we can do that repeated code. So if you're doing the same process over and over and over, but like the number that you're using or the string that you're using or the whatever variable that you're using changes, we can still make it into a method. It's fantastic. Methods are really good. Okay. Other cool things we can do with methods is we can put a nice name to the what it's doing. So calculate when you should start the project. That gives a lot of meaning there, right? Just like using a good variable name, we can use a good method name. So I don't have this code in here more than once, so I didn't help myself feel any better, but I put a nice name to it. So when I see, I can give a quick scan to my main method and I can say, oh, okay, I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to do this thing, and I'm going to do this thing. I don't even have to look at the code, right? I can get a feel for what it's doing here without even looking at how it does it. Right, so it puts a nice name to this chunk of code here, and it lets us do the functional decomposition, which is like the coolest term ever in programming. And just, in your daily life, we should probably talk more about functional decomposition with our friends, just so they can give us that funny look like, what are you doing in school? So always fun to get those looks. So the idea with functional decomposition, right, we're going to take a big problem, we're going to break it down into smaller problems, and smaller problems, and smaller problems. Right? Because it's easier to solve a small problem than it is to solve the whole problem. So if we do this functional decomposition, we can break it down step by step by step, give each step a name, do the things in that step, and then it's all separated. Right? It's a lot easier for you to sit down and tackle this than it is to tackle the entire project. Right? And we're going to take a look at that for the next project, just to see what it might look like if we had a bunch of methods. And that's the way my brain works. I'll show you what I might think the methods look like here. Okay, and then you can fill in the blanks. Or if you have a different approach, that's cool too, right? The idea for the next project is that the only thing that happens in main is you call methods. Okay? Another really cool thing we can do with methods is you can return values. So these ones that are void types, right? So public static voids just do something and they stop. Hello, 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 hello. Sure. Or this one is going to return an integer value. So we're going to actually give you back something. So just like we did with integer.parseInt, right? We were calling a method and we were assigning a value that was returned here. Very verbose. xi is you 11, 11, 11 p. I don't know. Names are always fun to pronounce here in Twitch. So this method we've been using returned a value. We can do the same thing with our value returning methods. So if we have a method ask the user for an int answer, we can assign it to an int variable. Okay? That's it, that sort of thing. We could return a string. So this rock, paper, scissors menu, we were using this method here to make sure that we only ever get back a valid value. We're doing that input validation inside of a method. And it kind of separates that out as a problem, puts it in the method here. The same sort of thing. So like the midterm sample problem, where did that one go? Asked you, like, you had to guess a number between 1 and 10. Right? So it's not while number equals 1 or number equals 2 or something like that, but we could do, as long as the number is less than 1 or the number is greater than 10. Remember, we can use those different conditions to make sure that our input is good here. Excuse me. So let's write another method. Let's do public static. Let's do int get integer between 1 and 10. Sure. Okay, we'll do this keyboard scanner. So we'll print out a message with the result. Enter a number between 1 and 10. Right, and we'll get their answer. And maybe we do this at least one time. We could do that, I guess. But we need a int result up here, where we have to define the number. Right, and then, if we're going to do that, we might as well set it to a value and not just use a regular while loop. So as long as result is less than 1 or result is greater than 10. We want to do these things. I don't need to call it an int already. Again, it knows it's an int. Oops. Tab it in. Give it a little format. Right, so start it off as something that will make the loop run, or do a do loop. That's just perfectly fine. Either one. I just don't like do loops. I am upset by their syntax of requiring a semicolon after the while clause. Because for some reason that offends me. I'm just a weird person. Okay, so as long as our input is not good here, we want this loop to run again. So less than 1 is not good, or more than 10 is not good. Right, so be careful with your ands or your ors here. This one definitely an or, right, because you're going to be one or the other. The other thing you could do if you wanted to get fancy, right, we could also say, let's do this as an alternative. Sure, actually, I want to do it here, then I'll comment it all. I'll say while, and then in parentheses here, I want result is greater than or equal to 1, and result is less than or equal to 10. And I want all of that not. No, that should not have done that. Sorry. There we go. So this was the opposite. So if result is greater than or equal to 1 and less than or equal to 10, that's good. That would be true for a good result. Not true would be false. The loop would stop. If it's not greater than or equal to 1, like if it's 0 or less, this is false. The whole thing becomes false because we're anding. And not false is true. So that would keep us in the loop. Okay, so you can do them either direction, right? You can do it as an or, you can do it as an and, but you just need to be careful with, is it the good result and I want the opposite of that because I want it to run if it's not good, or is this the bad range and I want to keep running as long as you're in the bad range? Does that make sense with these conditions here? And either way is perfectly fine, right? You can think of it whatever makes the most sense for you. I try and avoid knots if I can help it. Just because like it's one extra mental step when you're looking at the code to say, oh, you want this, but then not the opposite of that. Oh, exclam class there, xip. We'll tell you a little bit more about what's happening today. Actually, I don't know if it has all sorts of details, does it? But it has a little bit more info. Okay, so we've got some options here. We can use these methods to do input validation. Loops or methods are good for that. Right? We can do the validation in there, and that way what I get to do in main is going to be a lot cleaner and a little bit more concise for me to just kind of follow the steps. Okay, sure, I'm going to get a number between 1 and 10. That kind of process. Yeah, exclam class. There we go. Okay, we all right with that so far? Let's see, I had some other tabs open here. Where'd they all go? There we go. Making sure we're following along here. Now there's a couple of fun things about methods. So we looked at the header. For now, all of ours are going to be static. Don't worry about it. We'll get to different things later. Returning types or void types. We talked about that. Here we go. So when we ask for an argument, so like we said, hey, give me an int days until due and an int days required to complete project. Okay? Right? What's happening with primitive types? We're passing the value. So we're actually giving you a copy of this number. So if I wanted to, just because we could here, not inside the else there, sorry. I could take the days until due, like say like plus equals 10. Okay, so let's see. Let's go back to our calculate when we should do that. Let's print out our days until due. So it's before the method and after the method. This is days until due. Days until due before method. Okay, and add that in. And then we'll do that days until due after method. Okay, and we're going to see when it runs. All right, how many days until it's due? I don't know, we'll just say 20. How many days will it take? We'll say 10. So days until due before the method was 20. Days until due after the method was still 20, despite us changing it here inside the method. So let's do this. Let's do days until due inside the method. So we're going to make sure, and this is using outs like this is silly. This is poor man's debugging, would like to say. But we can real quick see it. I'll put it back in debug mode in a second. So 20 days till it's going to take us 10 days. So it's 20 days before we call the method. It's 30 days inside the method, and then it's 20 days after the method runs. Okay, so let's put a breakpoint in. Come over to the line numbers, drop the big red dot, and then run in debug mode so we can actually see our variables. Okay, this is much better than having to do a bunch of print lines everywhere. Because we can tell Java, hey, run a line, run a line, run a line. We can see all these variables in here, which is fantastic. So there's nothing yet in variables because it's waiting for me here to do this first ask for an answer thing. So in my output tab, right, it's waiting. So 20, 10. Now I finally get to this line. Right? So it won't stop until you get to that line. So there's nothing to see until then. So days until due was 20, and days required to complete project was 10. Those are the variables I can see. Okay? Because I'm only seeing the variables inside my method right now. Okay, so we're going to see if I step over. This is, we got all of our step buttons up here. We're going to step over. Now days until due is 30. Right, you see it change to 30. I think you can see that above my face there. Yep, good. You can see that above my face. Change to 30. Okay. So we're going to step. Now we're at the last line of the method. It's going to go out. So now we're done with the method, and we come back here to the main method. Now we see days until due is back to 20. So what happened when you pass an integer value or a primitive value, you're actually passing a copy of it. So no one can change the value for you inside the method. Inside the method, they can do whatever they want to it, right? Because they have access to it. Remember we talked a little bit about this, the word scope here. So this doesn't change the value in main. Let's pass as a copy, which is by value. We'll leave a little note there. Okay? So we're passing a copy here. I want to stop the debugging. Okay, that's for primitive types. Because we're passing by value. Now, we can pass strings as well, right? This is a string here. Let's make a string variable here. So let's do, this is the string days until due question is this. Right, and I'll pass that to the method here. Okay, now strings are not primitive types. Remember, they get their uppercase letter. It is a class here. So what's happening is we're passing them by value. Well, the value of this variable, we talked about this a little bit. This is where programming gets confusing, but it's important to know. Not an whiteboard, a whiteboard. Right, when we tell Java, hey, I want a string. Ooh, that's some good espresso. I'm waking up now. Okay, if we tell Java we want a string, it's going to go save some space in memory here for us. The only amount of space that it saves, though, is enough for a memory address. So we get 64 bits here. Well, we're passing the value. So everything is passed by value in Java, but the value is the memory address. So you're essentially passing a reference to it. And we don't like to mince words and get into those details. So what I get is I get room for 64 bits for a memory address, like x35ab something. I don't know, some big hex number, right? That then points somewhere out in memory where I actually have my string. You know, how many dot 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 dot. Because Java then can size this amount of memory at x35ab to as long as it needs to. Remember, each character takes up some room. I don't know how Java does it. It's whatever. It will figure out how much memory it needs. So like, I don't know, x35cf. I'm making this up. I don't know. Right? This is just an illustration. So that chunk of memory then will hold my string as zeros and ones, right? 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0. I don't know. Just a bunch of bytes and bits here. Right, this idea, hydration. Thank you so much. I do need to drink more espresso. As you can tell, I'm not talking fast enough yet. Oh, this is a GM Hikaru Nakamura's mug, by the way. He's, I think, the #2 chess player in America. He's fantastic and he streams a lot. So this is like GG Yo when he beats people. His little emote there. And on the other side, which you can't see because I'm drinking it, is his troll opening, where he uses this to make fun of other people and play a silly game. So make it a little closer. If you've ever played chess, and exclaim chess in the chat there, you can play chess with me if you are so curious. This move here, this second move for white, putting your king up a space, is a terrible move for white. So he does it to troll people and say like he does a terrible move and he can still beat them. This is affectionately referred to as the Bong Cloud opening, which he has popularized. Yeah, Magnus is good. Magnus is definitely the #1 player in the world. Not Hikaru Nakamura, #2 in the country here, but you know he's I don't think he's even top 10 in the world. I forget what his official ranking is, but yeah, it's I don't know how or who came up with it or whatever it is, but he had a whole series he was doing on his stream where he would do the Bong Cloud opening and like started developing theory for it. And like in theory, chess theory is like this is the sequence of moves that is best for you, sort of thing. Yeah, he had a whole series. It was fun. So just to show that you could, because it turns out chess got really boring for people once computers got good enough at it. And what most of the best people in the world do now is they memorize sequences of moves. And they just play that memorized sequence until they get far enough into the game that they can actually then play chess. So it turns out you have to see who has a better memory, essentially, or who knows how to use the computers better to find interesting sequences of moves that no one else has memorized, to put them into a bad spot. Because if you've memorized the sequence and they haven't memorized it, they have to spend their time figuring out what is the best move and all sorts of nonsense and things like that. But there was an interesting game. Every 2 years, they play the World Championship for chess to see who the next world champion is. And I think it was last year, was it? 2020? Might have been 2020. Wow, not even remembering. Maybe it was 2019. We had Fabio Caruana, the #1 in America, played Magnus Carlsen, the current world champion, and Magnus Carlsen, who is like the best person ever at chess. They might debate that with some other chess players, but he played one of his opening sequences had him move his knight like 5 times in a row. And everyone is like, what is going on? This is crazy. But it was something he had prepared and knew this particular sequence of moves would put him in a decent spot to play chess. And it wasn't terrible, but it made Fabiano have to think really hard about, well, what's happening? I've never seen this before. So like you come up with these unique sequences and it's all sorts of nonsense. Anyway, cheers. Thank you. Yeah, developing chess engines, the computer programs that play chess, is its own interesting field of study. So, and a lot of that is moving more to this AI model. So we used to have really good chess engines, and then I think it was Google with AlphaZero, I think came out with a better AI-based one, or machine learning-based one. So, yeah, Magnus is great, for sure. So, anyway, so what we store here then, the variable here just has a memory address. So my string for my question, right, this is my question, something, something, something. The value of that is a memory address. The value of it is not what's stored there, but Java knows, like, if I want to use it to go say, oh, get the memory address, go read the string out. But what happens is when I pass that string to a function here, to a method here, let's see, let's do this. So we're going to look right here. Okay. So how many days until the project is due? Oh, it didn't stop? Oh, I didn't hit debug. I hit regular run. If you hit run, it doesn't stop at the breakpoints. Let's try the debug version. There we go. Okay, so we're about to save this question as a variable. So you can see in here, this is days until due question is a string. Here's the particular value of it. Right? I think that's all I get to do here, right? Yeah. Did I get? That's it. Yep. Okay, so now we're going to step into to go into our method. So instead of a step over, right, I did a step into to go into the method. Now we see we have the question here. This is the argument that was passed. Here, let's go back here. Let me take, before we change that, let's take question plus equals, I'm inside the method. Let me out. Just something silly. And we're going to see question change. Okay. So if we step, it's waiting for that input. Yeah, how many days until it's due? 20 days until it's due. So step over, notice, didn't go into the method. And I wanted it to go into the method. Yeah, debug mode is fantastic. We've got to spend a lot of time in it here. So you definitely don't want to step over if you want to go into your method. So you got to be careful with that. All right, so let's try it one more time. So if it's not doing what you want it to do in debug mode, we might be clicking the wrong buttons. So step, now I've got a string days until due question. I'm going to step into here. Now I'm in my method here. Ask user for the int answer. And remember over here on your left, this is the call stack. It remembers when this method here is done, ask the user for an int answer. Right, we're going to come right back up to main at line 14. So Java remembers where it left off. Right, kind of like leaving a bookmark right over here, and I'll come back to it because I need to go somewhere else. And we'll step, we'll do the things. We'll say 20 days until it's due. We'll get our result. And now I'm going to see here, I've got question, I've got answer, and I've got result variables inside this method. Remember, scope here, our term a scope is where you can see and use variables. So the scope is limited by your curly braces. So any variables declared inside of these curly braces are only usable inside the curly braces. Once they go out of scope, or we're not in this scope anymore, we're not in these curly braces, we're going to lose the variables. Okay? So that's an important thing. So that's why we have to return results. So I'm going to see question now changes to how many days until the project is due, I'm inside a method, let me out. Okay, and we return the result. But now when I come back, my question has not changed. Remember, because what happens, strings are special. Remember, this memory address here stores this value. When you take a string and you say, hey, I want my string for name equals Eric, you can't see that, it's behind my face. So if you say here, string name is Eric, right, Java says, okay, sure, let's go take X, 97B2, and we'll go store a value there, which is Eric. Okay, so my name stores this. This points to that. If I take name and I say plus equals Charneski, Java doesn't put Charneski here. It does not put it in there. What it does, it makes a new string that says Eric Charneski. Oh, I'm writing over my face again. That's right. Eric Charneski. Puts a new string in Eric Charneski, and then it says, oh, hey, name, by the way, you don't point here anymore. Forget that. Now you point at 321A, which is over here. So it makes a new string in memory, and it changes where name points. It says you now point at the new thing. Okay, so remember that when we're talking about when we pass a string, we pass this string variable by value, and the value is the memory address. So remember, this variable name up here still points to whatever that location was. Right, but what we do when we reassign it here, when we assign to name, name now points here. So we're changing where it points. Okay? But what happens is this method, or I'm sorry, this variable days until due question still points here. We haven't changed that because what we passed is we passed a reference, we passed a string by value. So I didn't pass them this. I passed them the value of this, which is the memory address. So when we have our question, right, we had question, and it was, dot, 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 whatever it happened to be. it was actually storing at x, I'll say 13fb. Okay, so we had the method over here. We passed it x13fb. Inside the method, we said, oh, sure, now we have a new question equals this. Yeah, that's what arguments are. When you declare an argument inside of a method, we're saying, okay, inside the method, you have a variable called question. This is where it points. We gave you the value of what to point at. Okay, so our method gets 13fb. Then inside the method here, right? So inside the scope here, we say, oh, question. You don't point here anymore. Forget that, because we got a new value here, right? We put a new string out. This one was, I don't know, how many days, ... Right? That's what that one points at. So that one pointed there. We said, oh, no, you now have a new value here. It's how many days, how many ... inside a method. And we said, okay, question, now you point here. That's, say, like 29AA. So question, you don't point here anymore, right? Forget that. Now you point to this new thing. So we've changed the value that question stores inside the method, specific to this method here. Sorry, my chicken scratch is terrible. But the question up here, outside the method, the thing we passed, hasn't changed. The value is still this. We haven't changed the memory address. So we didn't change what was stored in memory over here. Right, that's still in memory at 13fb. We now have a new thing at 29AA that inside the method our question's pointing at. But when the method's done, we come right back to where we were, right? We pick it right back up, and question is still pointing to that same location in memory. So we passed the value, which was the memory address. So a string is special because a string is immutable. Right? Our big old immutable. Okay, immutable is important. Okay, we can't change the string in memory. Oh, thanks so much, Dimofsky. I should really be able to pronounce last names that end with ski, because Charnesky ends with, SKY. Apparently, it was originally spelled SKIY, I want to say, or there's some translation error when my great-grandfather came to the country. And we just have rolled with it ever since. And to my wife's chagrin, the way that you pronounce the CH in the original language in Ukrainian was actually a soft CH, like sh instead of ch. So it's not Charnesky, it's Sharnesky. And she always says, oh, like, a bunch of other words that CH, that have the hard ch sound. Oh, the W, SKY, okay, from Poland. Okay. Yeah, a lot in that, like, the Eastern European area. We had these ski names, for sure. But she always makes fun of me because I pronounce it Sharnesky. And she says, well, Charnesky, well, eventually we get back to, throwing words at each other that have different CH sounds. And I'll talk about the Charmin toilet paper. So it's great that I always get to compare the pronunciation of my last name to toilet paper. But, like, that's the one most people are familiar with a soft CH. Where, like, the CH makes the sh sound instead of the ch sound. So, UA. Don't remember that abbreviation, so I forget. But that's the story about how to pronounce my last name. Just remember toilet paper. And I gave up on correcting people. I used to try and correct people because I was like, no, this is how you're supposed to say it. And I realized it probably actually doesn't matter all that much, and they're not going to remember one way or another how to pronounce my last name. So, and sure, it's fine. I know what they meant. So, okay. So when we pass a string, we're not changing the string because it's immutable. When you go and add something to a string, you're making a new string in memory. So if the object is immutable, right, an object is an instance of a class. That's our technical term for it here. So this string object is an instance of the string class here. It lives somewhere in memory, can't be changed. Right? We can't change what's in memory for it. So when we pass it to a method, the method can't change it. Can't change it for the original. Okay? Let's see. Yep. Okay, that's all good. Returning values, value returning methods we did. Yep, sure. Okay. Yes. Okay, so what we're going to be doing in our program is going to be using file input and output inside of methods. So we're going to need to do another special thing. So if you remember back to when we did something with files, right, let's, I don't know, let's just do something silly. So we'll have, file equals a new file, and what should we call this one here? Test file.txt. Right? And when Java says, I don't know what a file is, we say, oh, sure, yeah, add the import. Yes, we want the import. I've not had the pleasure to write anything in Kotlin yet. No, the last time I taught our Android class was before the big switch to Kotlin. And now Dr. Baugh teaches the Android development course, so he is much more familiar with Kotlin. No, I've heard good things, though. No complaints. Right, so once we use file, right, now we need to do something with it. You want to read or write from the file. Okay, let's see if we can write to the file. So we're going to take our print writer, file writer or something, equals a new print writer. I'm sorry, we don't need to hand it the file. We just hand it test file.txt because we're just writing files to it. That's for reading. We don't need to read anything. So yeah, we want to do a print writer. Add the import for it. Now, it still is read. And we added the import, but it's still okay, over here is red now because it's saying unreported exception, file not found exception must be caught or declared to be thrown. Remember this we kind of glossed over and said, oh, bad stuff can happen when we do file input and output. An exception can happen which will cause our program to crash. That's okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to say we want to, come on light bulb, add the throws clause for java.io.file not found exception. What that does is it comes back up to main, and it says, hey, main will throw this exception. This is our way of telling Java, I know this could crash my program, and I don't care. Pass the buck. Let it crash. Okay? So what happens, wait, we had to do that in main. If we have a method, like public static void write file, given a string for file name, and a string for contents, if we put that inside of here, and we say, okay, sure, create a file called file of the given file name, and then our file writer dot printline the contents, and then our file writer dot close contents. There we go. It'd help if we could spell right. Remember, you open the file, you read or write the file, and then you close the file. Yes, XI, that is the right way, but we haven't got there yet. Now it's giving me the same warning. The unreported file not found exception must be caught or declared to be thrown. All right, so I'm going to click add throws clause. It adds it to the method. So every method that could have this happen, right, needs to also have the same tag. So I'm going to come back up here. I'm going to take it out of main because we don't do this in main here, right? We say, oh, it happens in write file. Sure. Now let's call write file, given, I don't know, test file.txt, and what should we give it? Testing 1, 2, 3. Now this is redlined, and I get the same message. The unreported exception, file not found exception, must be caught or declared to be thrown. So what happens here, Java is smart enough to say, oh, you're calling a method that says it might throw an exception. Are you sure you want to do this? And sure. So our quick suggestion here, these other ones we'll get to later, don't worry. We're just going to add the throws clause. We're going to say, yes, I know I might crash. Tell Java this method could crash my program, and I don't care. Pass the buck. Okay, we'll learn about how to fix this at the end of the semester. Okay, the right way of dealing with this and not crashing. Because I don't know about you, but there are very few things that like upset me as much as having an app crash. which is stupid because like sure, you just close it and open it again. It's not a big deal, but just being someone who knows how software works, it just upsets me when programs crash, because they really should not crash, right? Because there are ways of keeping your program from crashing. And it just makes me just frustrated and angry at the developers. Like, why didn't you do a better job at this? You know, it should not have crashed. Please be better. That sort of thing. Okay? So if we have methods that could throw exceptions, we need to add this throws clause. And then when we call that method, we need to add the throws clause. And remember, exceptions can call, or methods can call methods, which can call methods, which can call methods, which can call methods. So anywhere in that chain of methods that call methods, that call methods, that call methods, if one of them throws the exception, all of the other ones up in the chain need to also say that they throws the exception. They throws. It sounds like bad English, but it's probably correct. They throws, sure. Okay? You guys with me so far? Awesome. So I think we're due for a break. We're coming up on 11 o'clock. You guys have been great hanging out. So why don't we take 10 minutes or so? You guys can go freshen up your coffee. I am almost out of espresso. I'm going to finish this and go get a regular cup of coffee. This was like a couple shots of espresso here, which is fantastic. Yeah, they throw without the S. Throws. They throw an exception, but the method throws this exception. I'm sure English makes sense. All right. All right, so let's take a couple minutes here. I'll throw some music back up for you guys here, and we'll take 10. We'll come back in a little bit, and we'll talk more. Hey everybody, welcome on back. Think we're ready to get moving again? All right. So let's look a little bit at what this project might look like. So I'm going to start up a new project here. Let's call it Project 3. Oh, before I do that, let's commit this code to GitHub. That way it'll be nice and clean. We can do that. Give me a second to fire up GitHub, and then I'll start up a Project 3. Just some thoughts here. 200, there we go. This is, oh, I don't need this example stuff. All I want, so I'm just going to uncheck this stuff. You'll probably just commit everything every time, don't worry about it here. I don't need any of that example stuff. So, more methods, I'll commit that. Okay, and then if I don't want any of those things, I'm just going to discard all the changes, which will go delete all these files. So be careful doing this. Make sure you really don't want them here, but discard all those changes. I was just playing with some code. Okay, it just goes and deletes all of them. All right, more showed up. Sure, delete all those ones too. Get rid of them. Go away. We don't want you. Okay, then I can push my changes. All right, so then this is Project 3. And we're going to look at what some of those methods might look like. Right, the goal here was, let's take a look at Project 3. And I'm hoping to get caught up on grading over break, which is exciting. So I should have everything in and up to date after break for you guys. So I think I'm behind on the quizzes here, which we need a new quiz on methods. That's right. Quiz on chapter 5. Post the quiz on chapter 5. There we go. Okay, so for 20 points here. So using methods only. And this is our little choose your own adventure game. This one is terrible because like the Zork game I showed you actually gives you different options based on where you are. We're not going to be that advanced. We're just going to have a bunch of options, and every time we do that option, like go east, we're going to get the exact same story. So it's not super interesting, but that's okay. Right? We're not to the point where we can be tracking this stuff yet. Okay? So they create the game introduction file, then they loop, ask the command if it wounds the player or not, ask them what happens, we write that to the file, we're going to enter commands. We ask for the escape word and write that to escape word txt. So we should have a bunch of things happening here. So let's take a look at what that might look like, right? If we're using methods everywhere. Oh, nope, too much. Get rid of too much. There we go. Okay. Right? So here we want to like ask them, hey, are we in play mode or create mode? Right? So we might have a string mode is ask for play or create mode. Sure. And maybe we'll have a method that does that. And we give back a mode. Right? And we can say if mode equals ignore case play, right? And then we will do play mode. Right? Else create mode. That sort of thing. Right? Let's say, oh, well, you don't have methods for it. That's fine. Right? We can worry about these methods later. You can use this little button to create a method for you. It doesn't give you this. This is not great here. So most of the time, you know, I just link that out. But then it's upset with me because I don't return a string. So I might just say return just an empty string here. So, sure. And let's create play mode. We'll create mode. create mode. Sure. Well, why not? And again, yeah, I don't need that line. It's just such a long line. It's annoying. Let's see. Shift end. Nope. Shift to the end. Nope. Oh, my caps lock is on. There we go. There we go. Okay. My function lock was on. That's why. So play mode and create mode. Right, this sort of thing. Okay, that's all main has to do, right? Call play mode or call create mode. You can do that. And then these methods then can go do something. So create mode first, right, needs to create game introduction file. Boom, let's do that first. Okay, sure. Add a method for that. And we don't have one yet. That's fine. Okay. Done. Does that. Then it's going to create the game files. So create game files. Or game command files, right? We'll just say create command files. Okay, sure. We need a method for that. Write a method. Again, we don't need any of this garbage. That's fine. Okay. Looking good so far. Well, what this one does, yeah, I mean, you can use any IDE is usually pretty good. We just happen to use NetBeans here. So create command files, right, was going to say, as long as they haven't entered this Sentinel word, right, keep on making files. Right, so I don't know, so string file name equals something, and while my file name dot equals ignore case some escape word, and while not that, right, while it's not that word, let's keep on going here, right, and let's create game command or create command file. Right, this is one file. This is create command files, right, files versus one file. If that's too similar and it's awkward to you, that's fine. You don't have to use it. Okay? And when we make a game file, right, how do we do one particular file? Well, we probably need to tell it the file name, right? Or we need to get the file name. I don't know. This is a little bit, needs a little bit of work here. But this sort of idea, right? Needs some work. So maybe we pass it the file name. Sure. We can say, hey, this one wants a string for file name. If you tell me the file name, I'll go do these things, right? Remember, this one had to say, hey, does it wound the player or not? If it does, write that as the first line, and then do the other part here. Right? That's what we have to do inside of here. Right, we're just breaking this down, doing this functional decomposition. So you see how methods actually give us like a nice way of thinking about, you know, this is the step, this is the step, this is the step, that sort of thing. And as soon as we're done, right, we're done creating command files, method's done. And then we'll create escape word file. And Java says, oh, we don't have that. Sure, that's fine. Thank you, NetBeans. Give us a create escape word file. Right? Our escape word file, right? Asks for something here. Sure. Need some work. Don't create with sentinel value. Name. So ask for file name. Right? Like, you need to ask what the file name is to make that file, that sort of thing. Right? But don't do it if it's that escape. I don't know. You've got some options here for how you want to do that. Right? Create the game introduction file is this. We're just leaving ourselves some notes, right? So that's create mode. That's it. And see, we've got a ton of methods already. Does that make sense? Like how we took this and we kind of broke it down and broke it down and broke it down and broke it down step by step by step by step. So I'm not going to do the play mode set for you, right? This is for you. You do this part. If you want to use these methods for your game mode, that's perfectly fine, right? If you want to do it differently, that's okay too. But the idea is like main essentially just calls methods. Not a whole lot to it. Sure, we have an if-else, you know, check here, right? That's about all it does. So, right, the only thing allowed in the main method is calling other methods, which I think this is fine, right? Here, I'm calling an if this, I'm calling a method. Otherwise, I'm calling a method. We would say that's allowed. Does that make sense? Is that fair? I mean, if we really wanted to get crazy, we could like put this inside of ask for player create mode, and main would just say like start game, and start game would do this. Yeah, we could. Not sure. I mean, some little bit of logic here is probably not too bad. But the idea, like, we just see, okay, sure, it's going to start these things, and I can go see what those things are. What is play mode? What is create mode? And I can go look at those and see what they do. How are you feeling about that? So let's go add the rubric for this, because I forgot to add a rubric. Need to put all this in a document here, because rubric view makes me lose it. And we'll create a new rubric. This is project 3. You take off all these other levels of things. Right, so either you have the feature or you're missing the feature. Okay. And this was going to be 20 points total. Okay, so we're going to have a couple points for create mode, a couple points for play mode. So let's do our let's do main method first. So main has only code for calling other methods. Okay, so 2 points if you do that, no points if you don't. So if you don't want to put it all in, like if you don't want to do it all with methods, it's fine. You just lose a couple points there. Okay, and then in create mode, game introduction is created properly. 2 points for that. Create mode, command files are created until the user is all done. It's done entering new commands. Right, that's the loop that happens, right? Keep on entering a command, keep on entering a command until you tell me to stop. Okay, create mode, command files can wound a player. or use, I don't know. So command files, users are asked if the command will wound a player and the file is updated appropriately, right? So we said, hey, if it's going to wound a player, put wounded as the first line, or something that we know when we go read this file, I can read the first line and see if it says wounded or not. Okay, 2 points for that one. And in create mode, let's see. Secret escape word, escape word files created properly. Okay, so 2 points there. So that's half of it, right? Having main with just methods and then create mode is a bunch of points there. Right, we're going to look at play mode. Right? So reads game introduction file. This is play mode. Play mode. And displays the contents. That's like starting off. Here's the start of the story, right? So play mode loops until the user enters the value of the escape word file. Right, we have to read the escape word file, and the loop will run until they've entered the contents, whatever that file had inside of it. So if their escape word was abracadabra, right, or if it was like a sentence, right, until they've matched what was inside of that file, play mode is just going to keep them in our terrible game forever. Poor people. That's unfortunate for them. Okay? And then in play mode, if a command does not match the name of a file, tell them they can't do that. Right, so remember this idea, it's going to look for files using that exist option to see if the file exists. If it doesn't, tell them they can't do that. Right, play mode, the command wounds a player, force them to sleep before are allowed to do anything else. Okay, and then the last one, in play mode, the command exists, display the contents. Okay, there's 20 points there. So these ones are all 2 points each for this. So like there's partial if you get some of it working but not all of it, that sort of thing. And then this overall score we don't need to worry about. Okay. How are you folks feeling about Project 3? Again, it's not due for a while, but that doesn't mean we should put it off. Overall score. Sure, why not? And we'll attach the rubric. Okay, so I think I've got everything from in here. Translate it over to our rubric. Again, submit the URL to your code on github.com, and we should be in good shape. Yeah, not due till the 22nd, so we've got a little bit less than 4 weeks now. Right, but don't put it off, because that's going to come up before you know it. That Monday the 22nd will be here before you know it. Okay, other thoughts, questions, concerns? So we do have break next week. Don't forget. So don't come, won't be here on break next week. Break next week. Next Monday is midterm review. I'll go over answers to the midterm questions. Again, if it's about classes, don't worry about it because we haven't got there yet. I think our midterm was swapped with classes last time. I don't know, the break was different in the fall or something like that. I don't remember exactly what happened. I'd have to look at the syllabus and see. So don't worry about classes. So we'll have long answer questions, right? Write a method that does this, do something with files, and then we'll have one other one. Well, probably on loops. So we'll do a long answer question on loops, a long answer question on files, and a long answer question on methods. So those will be the 3 long answer questions. And again, the midterm will have a time limit. They'll have a 2-hour time limit from when you hit start to when you have to turn it in. So plan accordingly. I can open it a little bit earlier, but I want everyone to complete it mostly on the same day, maybe the same day or two. But plan to do 2 hours on 310 for the midterm, and if we need it, it can be flexible. You know, if you have something else going on that day, let me know. I don't want you to have to get doubled up or anything. I don't know when everyone else is doing their midterms, but I thought it was better to do it after break than before break. Okay, so we are officially halfway through the class. We have finished Chapter 5. I'll post the Chapter 5 quiz. You don't have to do that one before the midterm, but you probably want to. Just see how you did, maybe. I don't know, that's probably not fair to make it due Monday. No, I don't want to do that. Yeah, I'm going to grade the quizzes over break. I'm going to work on getting those up to date for you guys. Sorry for the delay on those. Yeah, I'll make sure everything is in by the midterm review day. So you've got all your quizzes graded, along with Project 2, so you know where you stand. I should be able to get caught up while I don't have classes or office hours. Okay. Yep, sorry for the delay. I'll get to those. Yeah, no problem. Definitely. And then the second half of the semester then, right, we cover a little bit more of classes, arrays and array lists, inheritance, and then GUI applications, our favorite part where you actually have something to click on instead of that console where you have to type a bunch of stuff in. We get applications we can click on, which are much more interesting and fun. Yeah, no, you can do anytime during the day. So if you don't like the 10 to noon slot, I'm going to have it open all day on 310, like essentially at midnight, and I'll probably close it at like 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning the next day is the current plan. So that if you like taking it at 10 p.m. because it's quiet at your house at 10 p.m., like it is at my house, I would rather do stuff at 10 p.m. than 10 a.m. when all the kids are running around screaming. So I'll give you that same flexibility. Yep. And I think someone had told me that they're traveling or something, so they need to take it at a different time. So like I can be flexible, but I would like most people to do it, you know, in the same day as possible. Because not that I don't trust you folks, and I know everyone is not going to cheat and it will not violate our academic integrity policy, because you do not want to fail the course and get reported to the dean's office and make me do all that paperwork, right? Please don't make me do the paperwork. We'll go from there. So again, it's not a huge part of your score. I mean, it's a decent chunk of your score for sure, but 15% overall is relatively low for an exam. That was sort of the goal here. I don't want these exams to be real high stakes. Right? Most of your score comes from your projects, your final project, and your quizzes that you have unlimited time on. Not unlimited, but like they're not 2 hours start to finish sort of things. So ideally, this one is less pressure. It's open book, it's open notes, open internet, not open neighbor. Right? You are not to work with other people on it, but you can use your resources. Right? I don't expect you guys to have stuff memorized. Just know where it is to go find, you know, specifically what you need. When it asks you to write code, please write it in NetBeans and then copy paste. Right? Take your whole method, copy paste it back in. Don't code without NetBeans, right? Because this is going to make sure you have good syntax and all sorts of things. Okay? So I'll talk all about that again on Monday, on 3/8, next Monday. Okay? So hope you guys have a good weekend, a good break. Go do some fun stuff. Rest and relax. There is study group today at noon, but then not next week. But then study group again, picking it back up on 3/8. So I definitely encourage you guys to go to that. And don't forget, you can get bonus points on your quizzes for attending study group. So I've got a list of who's attended when, and I'll be entering points in that little bonus category, which can help your quiz scores. Okay? All right, that's all I've got for today. If you don't have any other questions, we can call it a day. And yeah, see who else is online. So if you want to go check someone else out on Twitch for fun, let's see who I've got online. Send it right over their way for fun. Ooh, math. Yeah, let's go learn some math. I'm excited. Let's see if we can do this. We'll raid Boring Math Professor. He's a lot of fun, and actually not boring. I think it's just kind of a joke username, which is really fun, right? All right. So you guys take care. Tell them you're all fans of math and coding, and I'll see you around.
We farm.